listening to PJ and Friends on pjandfriends.com. Orlando, Florida.
PJ and Friends is proud to present another edition of their Spotlight interview series. And now, welcome your host, PJ.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to PJ and Friends. We have our guest on with us, David Christopher. David, the reason I invited you is, first, I am a lab rat at SAC Comedy Lab, and I do teching and stuff like that. And I perform with a couple other troops, Post-Dinner Conversation over in Tampa, a Powered Improv here in Orlando, and a couple other things. And a lot of my friends are artists and actors and things like Disney, Universal, and so forth. And I understand that your experience, your education and the different venues that you've trained with and so forth. I just wanted to talk to you, get to know you, find out about you, and see if we'll have a conversation, see where that goes. How do you feel about that?
Sounds great. Can't wait.
Very good. You have 19 years of improv experience. Where did you start? What was your first exposure to acting or improv or theater? What got your bug started?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's funny. My original background was in film, and after going through film school, I started working in film in New York City. I went to NYU, and I ended up back in South Florida, where I was born and raised, to work on a film, and that funding for that film fell apart. So it left me with some time to kind of figure some things out, and also just kind of regroup. And during that time, saw an ad in the newspaper about an audition for an improv group, and it was something that I had seen when I was in high school. There was a huge group down here called Mental Floss back in the 80s when I went to high school, and I used to go all the time. So I thought, wow, that would be awesome. I would love to do that again, or just do that period, but I'd love to see that again. And it was kind of a challenge for me, and I just needed a creative outlet, and I auditioned for this group called Laughing Gas, and got in and learned a lot about improv. It's where I got my start, and it's where a lot of people got starts down here at that time. And it was a really fun experience. And not only that, it's really where I got to be introduced to improv. So, and specifically short form.
And have you had any? What was your popular interest? Who influenced you the most? For me, for example, Monty Python was a big influence for me. I liked a lot of what they did. Of course, that's not necessarily really improv. It's a lot more sketch, and they do break a lot of the rules when it comes to the improv. But if you have any major influences, who were they?
Wow, that's a great question. It's funny. I've got two kids, and my oldest is 14. And we were watching The Jerk just by accident the other day, and it just reaffirmed how much I love Steve Martin's comedy. But not only that, just that film is genius, and there's so many different great bits to it. But not only that, there's so many different layers and nuances to it. For me, that's a big one. And also I'm a child of the 70s and 80s, so. I grew up with, being babysat by my grandparents, and they would let me stay up late when my parents would go out on Saturday nights. And I would, always make it through the second sketch of Saturday Night Live with the original cast. And, that was a big deal for a 7-year-old at the time. And that was a huge influence as well. So, watching, SNL back in the day, Steve Martin, it's kind of like that 79, 80, time period that really got me into comedy, and really kind of opened my eyes to it. That and probably seeing some really funny movies like Caddyshack, for example. That was another one that was a lot of fun. And that's Harold Ramis and Bill Murray, and just so much great improvisation happened in that movie as well that, you don't realize it then, but it comes back on you, and you're like, wow, that was an influence. I didn't realize that. So some good ones.
My training largely has been with SAC Comedy Lab, and a lot of people there are bona fide actors. When Mike Carr took over and Chris Dinger, they did a little bit of a direction change a couple of years ago. they went from being just improvisers to an actor that improvises, and I think that's relevant because the skill sets associated with acting is I think a good partner with improvising. Now, I wish I had the skill set of some of these people, but I don't. I'm going to be I would like to be better than I am, but I accept my place here. But watching the actors and see what they bring to the table is very important, I think. What is your opinion on what skill sets do you think are important as far as a good improviser, good actor?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. It's funny. I mean, I guess to transition from origins of improv and influences to now, it's definitely gone a long way since then, and I do a lot of teaching and work specifically on those skill sets. When I first started, there was a lot of stand-ups who were transitioning into improv, and now it's completely the other way around. There's so many actors who are now, feeling the pinch that they've got to either want to try improv or they need to try it to book their jobs. And when you go into an audition, you've got to be able to go off of the cuff. So you get a lot of actors. What's awesome about that is that they're able to tap into emotion, which is huge. It's huge for really taking your improv to that next level, and it's a big part of what we teach at Just the Funny. So to give you an idea on that, we've got a lot of great improvisers. We have over 40 improvisers in our cast at Just the Funny, and we're really proud of that. And a lot of them do have acting backgrounds, and even the ones who don't, it's like part of their improv education is acting. It's not just, hey, this is how you improvise. This is how you tap into those abilities that actors utilize in order to get more out of your improvisation. So it's huge. I mean, in order to play really deep characters that are rich and that actually have something to say and that have a background that really is deep and allows them to be fully fleshed out people, to be able to tap into that requires you to pull out of the toolkit what actors pull out of their toolkit, which is the ability to really play a person as opposed to just play a caricature of a person, which is a huge difference. So it really provides for a lot more grounded scene work. It provides for a lot more organic builds of characters, and on top of it, it really gives them a better toolkit in terms of what they do in terms of making choices, and especially bold choices. Because it's harder to take bold choices when you're playing on the surface, when you're really entrenched with what you're doing, when you're really acting in improv. Making those choices is so much easier.
Yeah, and that's a good valid point. David Russell, the president of SAC Comedy Lab, and he taught a class a couple of years ago called Quantum Improv. And he was talking about reckless abandonment and just going for it, and you take risks on stage. You go the danger associated with that, and going out there with no preconceived notion, and oftentimes that's where the gems come from. I think it was the Truth in Comedy where there's no mistake but a mistake. I think we're talking about the skill sets of acting and so forth. Nowadays, especially if you look at, for example, the Tonight Show now, for example, they've gone back to actors that can do everything. They want to sing, they want to dance, they want to do all these things. They're well-rounded. For a long while, a lot of the theater, a lot of the things, you could get away with just being a good actor. You get away with just being maybe a good singer. But, and back in the 70s and late 60s, early 70s, you had Laugh-In. You had shows like that where people were really, they would sing, they would dance, they would do all these things. You had the variety shows that were, Sonny and Cher, where they do comedy and singing, and Carol Burnett, so forth. And now we're back to that where I'm watching, like at SAC, again, I apologize, my main influence right now and where I'm at SAC Comedy Lab. They have musicians. They have, you get kind of spoiled there. They have this awesome stage, awesome technology. But I've also seen some awesome improv in the least likely of places. You go to these places, and over at Post Dinner Conversation over in Tampa, they have these college kids. And if you set aside the fact that their mind is constantly on sex, which is okay, they're at college, that's what happens. But they just, where they go with it. You know, they're not afraid of anything. I was doing a scene with them a couple of months ago, and they don't have right now. They don't have a accompaniment or anything like that. And at SAC, so I went into a song or something like that at the end of it, and they all just joined in. You know, a lot of places, you know, people are afraid to do that, and they're afraid to. We were going nowhere with it. It made no sense, but it was fun and it worked in that. What I'm saying is it seems being well-rounded, any skill set that you bring to this can work, whether it be acting, whether it be singing, whether it be, you know, mime, you know, any of these experiences can be an addition to a good scene or a good story or a good. And I look at your experience here, Second City, The Groundlings, IO, UCB. Of those, you know, they all have different takes on improv, right? Different flavors, if you will. What would you say would be the difference in how they've presented their training to you? What was different that you learned from each of those places?
Yeah, and this is also a good segue, too, into the festival. So for all of those, with the exception of IO, every single one of those have been through bringing down incredible organizations, incredible institutions like UCB, like Second City, like the Groundlings, like IO, bringing them to South Florida, bringing them to Miami, primarily through the Miami Improv Festival, which is coming up again, and I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point.
Yes.
But so that's taking workshops with them. IO is even more incredible in this regard. Last year, we brought down Sharna Halpern, Tara DeFrancisco, and Lindsay Haley from IO to do a full week-long intensive, the same way that they do it up in Chicago, and they did it down here in South Florida. We had a ton of people from Orlando and from Tampa, and even beyond that, come and join us for all of the South Florida improvisers who are down here taking that, and that was a real treat, just because, I mean, to have those people in your backyard for a full week, and you get to learn from them the same way you would if you went up to Chicago for a week. And on top of it, we had the end of the intensive student performance was really amazing. And I can tell you that they all have different schools of thought. To get back to your question, what's the difference between them? You know, and it's really what you choose to pick and choose out of each. You know, I think we're all different. Different things work for different improvisers. A lot of times just being exposed to the different approaches, really, you know, something may resonate, you know, with one thing more than another. For some people, they all resonate, and you just pick and choose. And I think I'm more along those lines. I really appreciate what people are bringing to the table. And not only that, I think it's awesome to have a varied approach, because it keeps you moving and keeps you fluid versus, well, I only feel this way, or I only like this group, or this approach. So it's nice to be able to draw from all of that. And I know that, you know, spending a ton of time with Sharna and her group when they came down, and they're coming down again in 2015, you know, that was huge. That was a big one, especially in regards to the Herald, but it was really a great validation of not only approaches to improv, but more along the lines of what we're doing at Just the Funny in regards to how we teach and what we teach. And that's about being present, being grounded. It's not about, you know, being funny. It's about being really good actors. This actually goes back to your last question too. You know, that's what they drilled in us. And it was all about having an incredible group mind and being able to do the ultimate trust fall, which is to let go and trust the people that you're playing with on stage by making an active choice and being grounded. I'd say another big one would definitely be the workshops that we've done over the years with Joe Bill, Mark Sutton, Susan Messing, Dave Rosowski. We brought Dave Rosowski down with another group called Sick Puppies, who are good friends of ours. You know, that was incredible. You know, those influences have really been big. And I think, you know, if there's one thing that I could take away from, for example, the Joe Bills and Mark Sentons of the world, is that, you know, they really gave us a really good understanding, and it really evolved actually what we teach at Just the Funny in regards to being selfish on stage. I mean, we're taught again and again and again and again to support our scene partner, and I can remember it as plain as yesterday when we were at the 2003 Miami Improv Festival, and I took that first workshop with Joe Bill, or that other workshop that I took the same day with Mark Sutton. And it was power improv, and the whole workshop was about letting go of the notion of supporting the other actor in the scene. It was about supporting yourself. It's kind of like if if the airplane drops and you've got your child next to you, you pull down your oxygen mask and take care of you first before you take care of the kid or the person next to you. And it's very much the same mindset. And that opened up a huge door. That was one of those that was definitely an eye opener, and it's something that's stayed with me, and also with just the funny to today. It's what we teach a lot of our higher level students. And that is, you've got to take care of yourself first. If you go into, let's just go and support the fellow actor mode, you're really not able to offer gifts, and you're not able to offer those bold choices that really enrich and enhance a scene. So, that's a huge one. But wow, there's so many good ones. The Groundlings was about bringing in fast-paced improv and really taking a different look at how you could do it. A lot of those pieces, a lot of the things that we've been exposed to have happened because of the Miami Improv Festival, and that's really special, and it's something I want to talk about just for a quick second.
Go ahead.
Miami Improv Festival allowed us to bring, in its first year, Chicago to Miami, but then after that, everybody and their mother started coming down here. We got a really good reputation for running a really tight festival, and not only that, and we ran a festival and run a festival that is an improvisers festival.
Right.
And I think that's what makes us special. People just want to come because they're taken care of. And in return, if you take care of your performers, they take care of you. So they bring in the good workshops. They bring in those great shows. So we were able to see their shows and then take their workshops. So, for example, with the Groundlings, who are also coming back for 2015 for the Miami Improv Festival, we saw them do their Crazy Uncle Joe show. Mm-hmm. And I actually had the opportunity to go out to LA and speak to their executive director and see their show that first time around and talk to them about coming to Miami. And they were all for it. And not only did they do their show, they then did a workshop on how to do their show, which was amazing because it totally opened up, this huge just opportunity to see how a different place does it. And the Groundlings is really special because the Groundlings isn't an easy place to get into just to learn, much less to perform. So to see them perform, pick their brains, and then be able to learn what they do is huge. And it's picking and choosing a lot from a lot of different places. I can tell you UCB was the same way. And when UCB came down for the festival, Bobby Moynihan was in that cast. And it was always a lot of fun to see them not only perform, but then, on the flip side, you see them perform on a Friday night, you're taking a workshop with them on a Saturday. And you can, ask all those questions.
And that's one of the things I wish, unfortunately, the public as a whole, unless you really have a great interaction with the community, and that takes time. It takes time to generate that. It takes time for people to know that you're there, other than other people, other improvisers. But these workshops are critical, I think. They're a treat for, again, the SAC Lab has brought so many wonderful people in. They brought Dave Rosowski in. They got to a point where Kevin McDonald, for example, from Kids in the Hall, had contacted them. He came down, did a couple of shows, and did some workshops on sketch writing and so forth. You guys bring in people that are really, really good, and there's these workshops that are really. I think it's like continuing education, but they're fun. People. I can't stress enough some of the opportunities that festivals like yours bring, but also the relationships that you establish with other troops. For example, I think Dad's Garage in Georgia is a big deal. They are really good friends with quite a few other troops here in Florida, and they give and take, and it's a wonderful thing. Post dinner conversation, they did their Tampa Improv Festival second year. They brought they partnered with UCB, and they did some workshops with a lot of interesting people. So, and all of them brought something new, something interesting to the table. So this is an opportunity to get a snippet of what you would get somewhere else, and first they're always affordable, and it's always worth your time, and it's a great thing. So first, I would urge anybody to go to the Miami Improv Festival, check them out, make sure you find them online, and look at what's coming, and find out about do your little research, find out who's coming, and you'll find out each of these performers and players that do the workshops, they bring something that's important. Even if you don't do improv, even if you're not into acting, if you're public speaking, there's a whole lot of reasons why these things would be important, and I would urge anybody to take these classes, because I think it's a great benefit when we have theaters like yours, theaters like SAC, groups like Post Dinner Conversation, Florida, and I'm going to get this, FST, I think it's over in Sarasota. They now, I can't remember the gentleman that came in. I have to look it up. I should have my notes, but he came.
Will Luera.
Yeah, he came from New York, I think it was. And he, he's down there now, and they're, so we've got a lot of interesting stuff here. We've got a lot of nice things here in Florida. And so I think it's a great thing. What you guys are doing is important. Give me one moment. I do need to go to a commercial, and then we'll come back and we'll continue to talk to you. Hold on for one moment.
You're listening to PJ and Friends on pjandfriends.com. Orlando, Florida.
Have you ever wanted to ride in a hot air balloon? Well, you can with Orlando Balloon Rides. It's an adventure of a lifetime. Take a ride in a hot air balloon. You will fly with the winds on a truly amazing journey. Explore Florida from the orange groves to the theme parks and more. See it all from a whole new vantage point. Experience total excitement from start to finish. You will ascend above the treetops to several thousand feet. This is an experience of a lifetime. Visit OrlandoBalloonRides.com for more information. That's OrlandoBalloonRides.com. Zoom Air Adventure Park Orlando, ziplining at its best. A Zoom Air Adventure is a great outing for families, friends, or coworkers. This entertaining self-propelled attraction gives both nature lovers and challenge seekers the opportunity to enjoy the thrill of adventure. Feel your adrenaline pump as you conquer abundant treetop challenges, including exhilarating rides on our zipline. Visit zoomair.us for more information. That's zoomair.us.
Place your ad here. PJ and Friends has several ways to promote your product, service, club, group, or business. You can sponsor a segment or a whole show. Advertising packages are affordable. We can even barter and exchange for goods and services. We can get you heard with live reads, 30 and 60-second commercials. We can do shows live on location. Email us at sales@pjandfriends.com for more information. All right, we're back. I appreciate your patience with me. We have things to do every once in a bit. We were talking about the festival, and we were talking about classes and things that are going on. When is the festival for you guys? What time of year is that? When is that coming up soon?
Festival's coming up in January from the 21st through the 25th. We have 27 incredible shows that will be going on from Wednesday night all the way through Sunday night. Plus, we've got 9 workshops, and those 9 workshops are really varied. Everything from the groundlings, again, they're going to be here, so they'll be teaching. Not only are they going to be teaching, they're going to be teaching, again, that show that they do, which is called the Crazy Uncle Joe Show, which is incredible. Plus, they'll also be teaching the groundlings approach to improv, and that's a first. We always challenge. One of the things that I do when I'm bringing in a group or bringing in an instructor is I always challenge them to offer something that you don't normally find at other festivals. So that was one with the groundlings. We wanted a piece of what somebody would experience if they were to take classes at the groundlings, if they moved out to LA. And a lot of our actors actually have done that in the past from Just the Funny. So that's one piece. Joe Bill, Susan Messing will both be down here for the festival, and they will be teaching as well. And again, they got challenged. It's like, hey, we want a little piece of, what makes you such an incredible improviser, give it to us as well. So it's kind of like, how do you give us a little bit of that improv DNA of what makes you so great? Help me now. So that's really cool. As for the shows, all of those people I just mentioned, Susan Messing, Joe Bill, the Growlings, will be performing at the Miami Improv Festival. And we're going to have a lot of great national acts, but a lot of great Florida acts. So, for example, SAC, Comedy Lab is going to be coming down. They're going to be performing. A number of the groups from Tampa will be coming down to perform as well. Speaking of Sarasota, Will Luera will be teaching. So he's going to be doing a workshop on free-form improv, as will Nicholas Riggs will be doing a splash-form improv workshop as well. So it's going to be really incredible. There's such a huge opportunity with this. And I would say even if you're in Orlando, if you're in Tampa, come down, see this festival, be a part of it. The shows, the workshops, it's really an incredible opportunity. These people don't get down here very often. The last time Susan Messing was down here was back in 2008 when we last ran the festival at the theater. And and she was amazing, and everybody just went bonkers over her. And she's just an incredible person, much less improviser and teacher. Joe Bill, same thing. Groundlings also, same thing. We brought them down many times, and it's just such a great opportunity to get your hands on these people. And there's going to be a lot of new material as well. So even if you've, been there, done that with Joe Bill or Susan Messing or the Groundlings or any of these other people, again, we've all pushed them to bring something new, bring a tweak, do something different that you don't normally get. The, improvisers who are experienced can get just as much out of it as the brand new ones. I would also say this too, the festival is a really great opportunity to see improv in action from a local level. We've got a lot of local great improvisers that will be a part of this, a lot of great groups. And, I just want to give a shout out to them. Our awesome friends at Mod 27, who we love to death, will be performing at the festival. In addition to, our good friends Sick Puppies, also our good friends Chasing Tails and Society Circus Players. They're going to be there. Not only that, we've got 3 of Just the Funnies, what you might call a house team playing. So we've got everybody from our musical improv group, Cheap Trills, to Special in a Bad Way, which is kind of like our crazy take improv to the extreme limits of what it can be group. And then, one that I'm in and that I'm very fond of, Fever Pitch, where we play dramatic improv and we also play comedic improv, but it's all very grounded, very organic, and very much involves performance art. So it's really about pushing the boundaries of what you can do with improv. But yeah, I'm just really proud of the festival, really proud of what we've got going on with it, but also very proud of what's going on here locally. And the fact that the festival will be an incredible showcase of how incredible improv is in Florida, much less South Florida. So it's really going to be a showcase.
But but I think it's just, I'm a fan of improv. I got bit by, when was it? Good Lord, so many different things. But live improv was the Comedy Warehouse at Disney. Annual pass, I'd go there and I'd see. Of course, it was a very short show, and it was. Very. But I met, and what I love about this, what I love about the improv community. You get to meet so many awesome people. You said, for example, Bobby Moynihan came down. These people are accessible. They're just the nicest people you've ever met. Kevin McDonald was just like, friendly and outgoing, and you could talk to him. And, so I have gotten to play and perform with people that I idolized. I'd see the actors like Mark Lehner, Mary Thompson Hunt, people you might not know. Paul Vogt, I've got, I also tech at SAC, I do lights and sound. So, where I have not been able to play with them, I've got to interact with them on other levels. So this community, going to these festivals, it's a bunch of things. You get to network with a lot of different people. You get to see influences from all around the country. There are experiences and everything that other people have that you get to share. And it's just a really good time. And I don't know that I've been to any festival. They're usually very well put together, and you guys have had high marks for a long time on the festival that you do. And so I would urge anybody to take time out. Plan how many days is yours this year?
It's a festival that goes from the 21st to the 25th.
Okay.
So that's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's a 5-day festival. Right. We have performances all 5 days. We have workshops on 3 days. And again, it's just something that's it's very much like you said, it gives you the opportunity to watch, to learn, but to also network. It's very accessible. And, that's the exciting thing. One of the things that we're very proud of is that when a group gets into our festival, and they come to perform, those performers, they get to see shows for free. They get to go and mingle with these people. Even if you're coming just to watch a show, or if you're coming just to a workshop, a lot of the instructors, a lot of the performers, very much like you mentioned, Bobby Moynihan, Zach Woods was another one. Very approachable people. They weren't famous then. You never know who's going to become famous. We had a group back in 2003 called the Tenderloins, and the Tenderloins came in, and everybody was from Chicago that year. The Tenderloins was like our lone New York group, and they came in. Nobody knew who they were. They did an awesome show, and then, poof, they were gone. And all of a sudden, turn on True TV a couple years back, and they're doing their prank reality TV show. And all of them now are big time, and all of them are just elevated to a different status because of the fact that they kept with it, and they eventually came up with an idea, and that got picked up, and they got a TV show out of it. There's a number of others. Flo from Progressive came down with the Groundlings many times. Her name is Stephanie Courtney, and Stephanie Courtney is awesome, amazing, incredible improviser. She wasn't Flo back then. She was just Stephanie Courtney. And, she came down, and she was sick one year with the flu. I mean, like bedridden.
Right.
Did not leave the hotel. The Groundlings were all out on South Beach partying. She was back at the hotel, but she showed up for their 2 shows and totally rocked it, and then hung out afterwards. And it's like you had time with her. And now she's Flo from Progressive, and it's just an amazing thing. You see people make it, and they were at the festival, so it's really an awesome place too to see that launching pad of talent. And, you never know who's going to make it. And I'm sure that every single festival has had stories like that. By the way, and I think this is a big one too. We love our festival, but we also love all the Florida festivals as well. And I want to give a quick shout out to the other ones. If you're an improviser, definitely come to us, come see the Miami Improv Festival. You're going to have a great time. But then next up on the line is the Gainesville Improv Festival, run by Skylar Stone and Tom O'Donnell, 2 really good friends.
And they've been, that one has gone on for many, many years. That's a staple here in Florida, so that's another good one to go to.
Yeah, they're incredible, and they've been longtime friends since they started that festival back in the day. We've worked hand in hand together about how to program festivals and also how to work in conjunction with each other. And I know that Nicholas Riggs over at the Tampa Improv Festival, and now Will Luera over at Florida Studio Theater at the Sarasota Improv Festival. We take care of each other. When we first started the Miami Improv Festival, SAC had their Fool Fest.
Yes.
So
yes.
And that was the other festival in Florida at the time. There was only just the 2 of us, and festivals were different. I mean, it was much more of a circuit. There weren't as many as there are now, just nationally. So, you would see a lot of the same acts just kind of make their way around the country. And now there's just so many of them. You see it's much more varied because you've got a lot more improv out there. It's a bigger proliferation, bigger in terms of more amounts of headliners. It's not just the same people. So you get a lot of variation in that. And it's really cool to see the lineups, for example, from what happened in Sarasota earlier this year to Tampa to us, and then after Miami Improv Festival, Gainesville Improv Festival. So that's going to be incredible.
And one of the things that I like is again, a good thing about Florida is we have such a diverse acting because of the theater, the studios here. But what people seem to forget, some people forget that improv doesn't necessarily always have to be funny. While that's what we're aiming for, Jay Hopkins and David Charles did a show a couple years ago called "Is This Seat Taken?" And they took random objects and they had a whole setup for it. And while oftentimes it was funny, it was also very theatrical. It was I went there. It was a completely different thing. I mean, yes, it was funny, but you got to see some art. You got to see some good acting in this. Richard Paul, who is an instructor at Sackheim Lab, and he's got a bunch of troops of his own, and he performs at Disney and does so many different things. He did a set at the Tampa Improv Festival, one-man show. And it was really, if you've ever taken any classes and they talk about taking your time on stage, they talk about, give your character a chance to be known and so forth. Here he is doing a set by himself, and he's introducing these characters. And as he goes through each character, he's giving each one its own time, and he's taking his time. And it was a great thing. So you're going to be able to see, yes, you're going to laugh, you're going to have a great time, but you're also going to have an opportunity to see some wonderful acting and some wonderful talent. It was a great thing, and you're going to see up and comers. We have some troops that different graduates of different classes and stuff, whether it be post-dinner conversation, whether it be, we had a couple from, I think, Sarasota that came up. I was teching the Improv Festival here in Tampa, so I got to interact with all these people, which was a great thing for me because it was a great little thing for me. And we got to see so much. So, yes, you're going to laugh, you're going to have a good time, but you're going to see some really, really good theater, good acting, because improv is not not just comedy. It can be. It is funny, but it's not just comedy. And you talked a little earlier about taking care of yourself and so forth. This is one of the reasons, again, these one-man shows, if you've ever, like a talk show, for example, there's a lot of responsibility here. If you got on here and it's boring, no one's going to listen to you. If you get up there, you have to be able to support that. You have to be able to take care of yourself. Yes, now you don't want to throw away being supportive. You don't want to throw that, because there's a difference between take care of yourself and being selfish on stage. And I think a good balance of all that is very important. But watching Richard Paul do this one-man set, and because he's taught me, I've taken classes of his, and when you get to see it in practice, he went from character to character, gave each a couple of seconds for you to, and you got it. You got the attitude, you got the mode, you got the where this character was, and it was a great thing. So anyway, these festivals, you're going to be able to see a lot of stuff. And here's the thing: festivals, oftentimes, if it's run well and done well, are just like workshops. They're safe zones. It's a safe place to be. You can ask questions. You can talk to people. I've not had a problem. You walk up to somebody, you have a question, they will sit and talk with you. They love to do that kind of stuff. So anyway, improv is not just funny, but it can be. And I think that's an important distinction to make to some people.
Absolutely. By the way, Richard Reagan Paul's awesome. Love him to death. He's a great guy. And just to build on your solo improv piece, it's very much, the whole saying, follow your fear, which you hear all the time in improv. And that's such a huge thing. If you stay in safe zones, safe zones basically mean that you feel comfortable with something. And the safe zone, really what it does is it becomes a comfort zone, which then becomes atrophy for that engine that you have that really pushes you in improv. And following that fear means you're basically always pushing yourself to go into different places and to go into places that don't feel comfortable. And that's really where the awesome work comes from. And, for example, talking about, Richard doing a solo show, that is birthed out of following a fear. Solo is probably one of the most, if not the most daunting approach to improv and way to perform it. It's a difficult thing. You have nothing to fall back on but yourself. We have an incredible actor down here at Just the Funny. His name is Louis David Madera. And he took a workshop from Jill Bernard back at, I believe it was a 2006 festival, maybe the 2007 festival, where she taught solo. She did that both years. And she had performed her drum machine show and then taught solo. And then they had a student performance to back it up. And he did a quick little 15-minute solo set, but it was so infectious, that following the fear, that he kept up with it, and he started doing solo shows during regular sets that we would do on normal weekends at Just the Funny. So it's all about that. We do a show called Fever Pitch, and at Just the Funny, Fever Pitch is all about constantly pushing the boundaries of improv and pushing the boundaries of what we consider improv to be. So to give you an example of that, one of our pieces, one of the things that we have as a guiding principle is that whatever our format is that we do for a certain show, the minute the show is over, the format is tossed. It's thrown away, and we don't do staples. We don't do anything actually that we've ever seen before. So we won't do a Harold. We won't do a Living Room or an Armando or a LaRonde or a Nightmare. We do things that, for example, we watched a performance art documentary on HBO, and it was this woman, Marina Abramovich, who did this performance art where literally she sat in the MoMA in New York and would stare at people for about a minute or two and just connect with them and be very present with them, and it was very moving. So, one night we decided to go and pull the audience up out of their seats in the theater, brought them all up on stage, had them form a rectangle because our stage is a little bit longer and more wide than square. And we performed improv within the rectangle. Every time we finished a scene or a monologue, the rectangle would squeeze in a little bit tighter until the final part of the set, everybody was basically on top of the actors and we were all squeezed in shoulder to shoulder together. The cool thing is that it became an immersive, beyond interactive experience. The audience was part of the show, and they were on the stage, and they were in the stage lights, and they had that interaction with the actors. And that was scary, but at the same time, it was exhilarating. And it was something that is just one more thing that you put into your toolkit that lets you know, hey, I can do this. Or, you know, wow, let's push that and try it. And that's the beauty of improv. That's what I love to see with students at Just the Funny, is that we're constantly pushing them and constantly pushing their boundaries. And as improvisers, we have to do the same ourselves. So, you know, you mentioned Richard being an incredible instructor. Part of being an incredible instructor is you've got to go out there and be an incredible performer and push yourself, because, you know, otherwise you end up in a comfort zone, and that comfort zone is atrophy for your improv engine. So you gotta really push it. And that's the beautiful thing. You know, and that's what sparked, by the way, our musical improv group, Cheap Thrills at Just the Funny. You know, that was born out of a desire to do it, but our cast was totally afraid to do it. None of them are singers.
Right.
Some of them are, but not all of them. And so, you know, following that fear of going into the void, the unknown of musical improv, you know, in front of an audience, you know, they're now killing it. Those shows are so solid. But, you know, all of that started out of a fear. And so that's a huge thing that any improviser can do, is just follow that fear, go and try those things that are hard. You know, don't just go for the easy stuff. Go for the things that are going to push you. I'm sorry, that was a bigger answer than probably what you were expecting.
No. This is exactly why we're here. This is exactly. Listen, this is important. There are people out there that are gonna understand this. That need to, some of them that want to hear this. This is going to be information that, you know, I didn't know this. I didn't understand this, or this is going to give them strength to do the things they didn't think they could. You know, again, and I apologize. My world of improv is very limited in the sense that you know, it's SAC, it's posting a conversation, it's other things. So I'm going to be referring to them a lot, and you know, they, again, being associated, like, and you guys are just as important. When I say workshops, you know, and how they bring people in, the SAC does. They'll have a rap workshop. They'll have a music workshop. They'll have now, you know, they'll bring people in to do special things. They'll have a whole series of, you know, like I said, David Russell, for example, did quantum improv, and I wish he would do it. He hasn't done it in a while. But Mike Carr does a conservatory class for people that have shown promise and need a little more oomph, and he focuses on certain things. It's more beyond the basics, which is, I think, important. Now, of course, SAC has classes after class after class, so they're turning out quite a few people on a regular basis. But for a long time, they had what they called the Monday Night Workshop, which means if you were level 3, level 4, or a graduate, and you hadn't quite made it into a troupe yet, or anybody that was of that level, could come to Monday night, pay $5 and do a workshop. They're getting ready to revamp that. I don't know what they're doing with it. They mentioned something at the Christmas party, but I didn't fully understand it. But they're getting ready to revamp that.
Right.
But they you know, they give you so many opportunities. So that fear thing, it's a very good thing, I think, sometimes. Doing something, getting out of your comfort zone. A class I took, a workshop I did with Richard Paul, something as simple as a spot on the stage. You know, your positioning on the stage. Anything can be an offer. I saw, and we would do a series of scenes, and we just started with, where were you positioned? How were you positioned? Not just the emotion, not the physical, but where on and based on, and find a spot on the stage, find a spot. And what I love is when people, you know, they'll leave the stage. I love it when they go in the audience. I love getting in the audience. I love doing that kind of thing, because I think that first, for me, when I was an audience member, it was a wow factor. I loved it when they were there. I loved that kind of interaction. But also, it gets you that stage. Anything can be your influence and your offer. So, I watched this many years ago when SAC was over at their old location. There was a show they were doing, and for whatever reason, there was an actor waving a finger. And Chris Dinger, I think you met Chris. You were up here in late October, weren't you? You were up here in Orlando in late October? Was that you?
Yes.
Okay, and yeah, because we actually, you were in the theater talking to Mike Carr, and I was actually there sweating because I was helping them pack some stuff up.
Right.
Anyway, Chris Dinger, someone was wagging a finger, and they were doing some sort of scene, and just out of the blue, that finger became like he was following it like a fish. And it was funny. It was something as innocent as wagging and once that eye contact had been made, once that they had realized this is what the game was, this is what they were. And it was funny. It was genius. Something so simple, And so one of the things I like is anything can be an offer. Anything can be change your people are afraid they don't have a concept, they don't have an idea, so they won't go on stage or they won't go in. And the whole idea is go in when you don't have anything, because oftentimes that's when the gems come. I think it's important. One of the things that my car teaches. The core thing is respond to the last thing said. You know what I mean? You want to know the person that you're with. Makes things easier. Because you get into these long dialogues and people that go into these long scenes and they've made several offers or talked about several things during the course of whatever it is they were saying. Respond to the last thing, because that's the only thing anybody else remembers. These are really good tidbits of stuff. And so these classes, where they talk about eye contact, where they talk about, all these little warm-ups we do. I don't think people get the fact that they're not just warm-ups. I mean, when you do go, when you do zip, zap, zop, when you do all these things, and there's based on eye contact, or you do the, I can't remember all the names of them, the ones where there's a chain of things that you're throwing at people and names and whatever, patterns and so forth. These things are critical. They're important. They're not just there for fun. While, yes, they're fun, they're teaching you skill sets associated with the improvisation. There's skill sets that are going to make you a good team member on stage, but also allow you to take care of yourself if things are done okay. I love the classes. I think the classes are important. I think the workshops, what you guys do, are important. I think it's like I said, Richard Paul is a great teacher. Mike Carr is a great teacher. Chris Dinger. I wanted to segue into something a little different here. I've noticed over the years. It seems like every theater goes through it. We had Powered Improv many years ago. We had, there's an upheaval. I think Post Center Conversation had one a little while ago. SAC had one a couple of years ago. SAC's been around for a long time. So I think it's kind of like it's a culture shift, I think. I don't necessarily think it's an upheaval. I think it's things change, whether it be a younger crowd comes in and the older crowd goes out, and it's like Saturday Night Live. Every season there's a new troupe and things change. Is it going to be funny this year? Is it not going to be funny this year? It seems like everybody goes through this. Some people a little sooner than others. But the one for SAC, I think, was critical. I mean, it was I was unsure for a while, but they brought in Chris Dinger as the manager and Mike Carr as the artistic director. Mike Carr has been a workhorse. He's just I don't know. He does a full thing at Disney and comes in. He's fully prepared and has these ideas, and he puts together shows, and just amazing. And Chris Dinger has, I think they're for profit. You're nonprofit. I think Post Center Conversation is nonprofit. So it's a little bit different in the sense that there's still money to be made, but they have just done wonders. Do you find, like, let's say, I don't know if you've been around the UCB and IO and all them. Do they all go through growing pains? Like they seem severe.
It's funny. Everybody goes through their evolutions, and I think it's the nature of the art. But you brought up an important topic there, which is the business side of it too. And Just the Funny actually isn't a nonprofit, although we operate very much like one. In this regard, everything that we make in regards to money, we put it back into the organization. So, for example, we started out with zero. It was 9 improvisers who just really had an idea of what we wanted culturally our troupe to be, and artistically what we wanted our troupe to be. And we would go and literally do shows where we had no budget. Yeah. We had no bank account, and our only way to promote would be to go into work back in the day and take that one little flyer, sneak in, copy it, and then go and literally pass out 8.5 by 11
guerrilla marketing,
white sheets of paper, right? Guerrilla marketing, and we do street prop in order to attract an audience.
But I think everybody does that. I mean, Powered Improv was like that, and keep going. I'm sorry.
Sure. No worries. But every dollar we ever made, we knew what we wanted to do with it. We knew that we wanted to build this thing to where we had our own theater. And the awesome thing was that was 1999 when we started. By 2008, we had our own theater. And not only do we have our own theater, we probably have one of the best improv theaters in the country. I know that, for example, SAC and us have great theaters that are dedicated just to improv. And because of that, we've been able to build them out so that way they really suit improv, and that's an incredible feat. That's an incredible accomplishment, but that requires somebody to be running the business side of it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the hard part of it too. It's, there's that balance. So, to go to your question, with that balance, you're always going to have the struggle between operating a good business that's healthy. And that doesn't mean that that's against the art. It just means it's there to support it, but they have to have a balance and they have to work together. So, for example, Just the Funny went through a major cultural shift back in the mid-2000s. Just to give you an idea of the landscape, when we first started doing the Miami Improv Festival back in 2003, there was no long form at all in Miami.
Right.
We licensed out a show at Just the Funny called How We First Met, which is a Valentine's Day themed show, and it was a long form. We had no idea what we were doing, but we just did it. And that happened right after the 2003 festival. But that 2003 festival really opened our eyes to long form improv. And we had what was turning out to be a rift within our own company of those who wanted to only do short form and those who only wanted to do long form.
Right.
And at the very next festival, we had one of our great improvisers who was there, a woman named Stacy Halal, sat us down, and we had a very candid talk with her. She has a background in marketing and branding, and I told her a little bit about our issue culturally, what was going on at Just the Funny, and she said she very candidly looked all of our people in the eye and said, "All right, what's your cash cow? What's bringing in the money?" Without anybody blinking an eye, everybody said our short form show. And then she said, "Well, what do you love doing more, short form or long form?" And that's where you saw the hands go up. Some said short form, some said long form. She's like, "You never screw your cash cow."
Exactly.
And it ended the debate. We kept doing long form, but nobody complained about doing short form because they got it. They realized that, you can't do one without the other. You can't have an art without the business.
Right.
You can't really enjoy your art.
Or you'll be,
business doesn't support it.
Or you end up in your bedroom performing in the mirror. And here's the thing. I think, for example, Sachs bread and butter for many, many years was the Duel of Fools, which is just a bunch of short forms and the scoring and so forth. But the reason I think that works is because it's the interaction with the audience. You have more interaction with the audience with a short form set than you do with a long form set. Once you've got your whatever your offer is, you go and play, and you don't really interact with the audience much in long form. While I love long form, and I prefer it, the wow factor for the audience, the wow factor for the money side of things, and getting people is when you can get them up on stage, and when they get and do the games with you, and they make their suggestions, and they're feeling involved. And when you add the scoring bit of the Dual Fools or whatever it's called, Comedy Sports. They're involved. They're more in, and so now there's their part of it versus just being an audience member. And I think that's the difference. Now, one of the things that SAC is doing, and it's working for them. For a long time it was a SAC Comedy Lab, and I think they're switching more towards the theater side of things because they have so many great actors and so many really good, talented people there. Again, it hurts me because I realize I'm never going to be as good as they are because I just don't have the means to do the classes I need to. You either need to be dedicated or you do the best you can, or you have an innate talent. And mine's a book study, not a street smart kind of improv. So these guys are really talented, and so I realize I'm watching people doing leapfrogs over me. They come in the lab rats and they're already ensemble members, and it kills me because I would love nothing more than to be there. But their mindset is changing a little bit. They're going more towards the theater side of things because they're doing productions like they're doing stuff at Fringe. They did a Jekyll and Hyde, the rap musical. They did Little Women. Lindsay Taylor, she has been real critical on some of those things. My Car, and I think Lindsay and a couple of people did. It's Invasion Christmas, which is kind of like the Christmas Carol, but where they brought in an unknown. They do the whole thing. There's a couple of kind of like if you think of Doctor Who, there's set points in this show that's got to happen for it to make sense. So there are set parts where you can't mess with it. But they would have an actor come in and he'd bring whatever. I did a workshop with them where I came in as a guy doing a live reality show and a camera crew and all that, and that was my interruption to them. So they had to work around that and justify it. But they're bringing in they're doing some stuff outside. It's still comedy, still funny. And the thing is, they're selling out the house. Apparently this year, usually what they do is every year they do a dual, what they call the Yule Fools, where every night for like 2 weeks they do their show. This time they did a little different. They were focusing on theater, but they're doing so much more. But I agree with you. I think the bread and butter in many cases is a short form, and I believe that to be because it's the interaction with the customer versus once they've given you that suggestion, you're kind of done with them. I need to do something. We're at almost an hour. I can talk forever, but I don't know how much time you got. I need to go to a commercial. We'll come back, and then if we need to wrap up, fine. If you want to sit and talk, we can talk. Give me
Absolutely, that'd be great.
Give me one moment.
You're listening to PJ and Friends on pjandfriends.com. Orlando, Florida.
Have you ever wanted to ride in a hot air balloon? Well, you can with Orlando Balloon Rides. It's an adventure of a lifetime. Take a ride in a hot air balloon. You will fly with the winds on a truly amazing journey. Explore Florida from the orange groves to the theme parks and more. See it all from a whole new vantage point. Experience total excitement from start to finish. You will ascend above the treetops to several thousand feet. This is an experience of a lifetime. Visit OrlandoBalloonRides.com for more information. That's OrlandoBalloonRides.com. Zoom Air Adventure Park Orlando, ziplining at its best. A Zoom Air Adventure is a great outing for families, friends, or coworkers. This entertaining self-propelled attraction gives both nature lovers and challenge seekers the opportunity to enjoy the thrill of adventure. Feel your adrenaline pump as you conquer abundant treetop challenges, including exhilarating rides on our zipline. Visit zoomair.us for more information. That's zoomair.us.
Hey, this is PJ of PJ and Friends. We have several ways to promote your product, service, club, group, or business. You can sponsor a segment or a whole show. Advertising packages are affordable. We can even barter and exchange for goods and services. We can get you heard. We have live reads, 30 and 60-second commercials. We can do shows live on location. Email us at sales@pjandfriends.com for more information. All right, and back to the show. All right, you still there? Still with me?
Yep, still here.
Before I want to change directions a little bit. Before I do that, I want to say one thing. The people that run theaters like yourself and Mike Carr and Chris Dinger, one of the things I noticed about Chris Dinger, he never leaves the place. And that, what I mean by that is it's a dedication. He's taken a couple of things. One, he revamped the website. My background is sales and marketing, so statistics and numbers and all that make sense. They matter. You need to know where your money's going. You need to know he automated a lot of stuff there. The concessions and the ticket price taking, and so he's probably got some hard data on the audience, what's working, what's not working. One of the other things he did, which is very, very, very smart, is they would do giveaways inside a show. In other words, when they go to break, they would say, well, you know what, if you like us on Facebook, you get 2 free tickets to whatever the next show was. And sometimes they have like a Father's Day or Mother's Day special or whatever, and so they were promoting their own thing. He did a wonderful thing. So he's got numbers, and then, of course, he gets surveys back. And so he gets, what was your experience like, that kind of a thing. And I think that is critical. He really, so for a long time, I mean, including recreating the website and reinvesting into that, he didn't leave SAC. I think he moved in. And Mike Carr worked, again, he's got the full-time job at Disney. And if you've ever seen him outside of SAC, I mean, he's kills me, he's so talented. But he would work full days and then he'd come back with these workshops and these ideas, and he does the Brawl for All, which is a show where he brings troops in from all over, so it's people outside of SAC. For a long time, it was self-contained. If you weren't associated with SAC, it was hard to get in there, but they've opened the doors to a lot of opportunities. As best they can. I mean, they've got a money. Their responsibility is, they are a for-profit and they want to make money and all that. So there's a certain level of responsibility there. But at the same time, they want to try to make sure they encompass and include as many things as possible. Same thing with you guys. You've got to you guys are got to be putting a lot of effort and time into this. It doesn't happen overnight. You go through you have your growth pains and the things that you do, and then these festivals, they're not easy. They take time. You got to work out everybody has, to be very honest, people in this industry, we have some sensitive personalities, and so you're dealing with different personality types, different things, different needs. Hopefully things are falling into place. Did the ticket work? Is the venue okay? Do you have your techs lined up? Do you have, who's doing what workshop when? I watched Nicholas Riggs and posting him. This man, it's like throwing a party. If you're running these things, you probably don't have a good time because you're too worried about if other people are having a good time. So, my hat's off to you because this is not easy. And whatever the team is that you have there, I don't know them, and I to be honest, I haven't been down there. I need to come down there, but you guys are awesome. You have a name. You guys are doing well. You're bringing in awesome people for workshops. And whatever you're doing, if no one thanks you, regardless of just the money that you're making, thank you for doing what you're doing because it allows us to do other things. It brings credibility to us, and the fact that you're doing it and doing it right and being friendly and all this, it matters. And I want to thank you very much for all that.
Well, thank you. The one thing I need to say before going forward is that just the funny, I have 4 others on our management team that I need to thank and also make sure that they get their due props. And, that goes to our artistic director, Tom Neal, who also runs our programming. So he's kind of like that Mike Carr for Just the Funny. We have Rick Munares, who is huge. He's our VP of Finance and kind of operations as well. He does a lot to help out on the business side of things. My job is education and all of our corporate and private events. So I'm very much involved with all of the workshops that come in, all of the private shows that we do and the corporate work, but it's really about the education, and teaching people how to do improv, infecting them with the bug, making sure that they get there. We have our VP of promotions and marketing, and that's Louis David Madera. He does an incredible job. And then we also have our VP of outreach, and that's Marlene Marcos, and she really does so much, everything from planning our parties and social events all the way through to, getting more people to see, like, and enjoy improv and hopefully want to do it themselves. So at Just the Funny, we've got that. The other thing I want to do is I want to make sure people have the resources to be able to find all these great things that we're doing. Just the Funny, again, we have our own theater in Miami. You can find us at justthefunny.com. So that's justthefunny.com. We have shows every Friday and Saturday night at 9 o'clock. We have 5 levels of improv classes. They're all going to be starting up again the very first week of January. So next week, we got improv classes from Improv 1 all the way up through 5, sketch writing, and even an improv for kids, all going on starting next week. And then for the Miami Improv Festival, that's the big one. Again, January 21st through the 25th. You can find out everything you need to find out at themiamiimprovfestival.com. That's themiamiimprovfestival.com. Also, you can find us on Facebook or Google us. You'll find Just the Funny or the Miami Improv Festival and get everything that you need out of that. But yeah, it definitely takes a team effort. And it also takes a team effort from our actors. I mean, our actors are tasked. They're so supportive. They volunteer. They do amazing things. We've got a group of 7 actors who are going to our theater tomorrow during the day just to go and clean it out and to reorganize the theater. They do our box. They do our tech. Tech is kind of like, in basketball, it's like that 6th man. They're the ones who are really very much a part of the show. And PJ, as we were speaking so far this morning, you mentioned doing tech for the Tampa Improv Festival. You're getting to be an active part of those shows. You're getting to really interact with those actors on stage.
And it was a treat for me.
That's what they do.
It was a treat for me.
So yeah, I mean, sorry, go ahead, shoot away with your next question. Just wanted to make sure that I gave some love and props to people who do the hard work and also get the information out there. So anybody listening, if they want to find out more, please do. By the way, PJ, we'd love to have you down for the festival. So please come on down. It'll be a great opportunity to meet tons of people and to see some familiar faces too. Oh,
I will love to do that. So we're going to switch gears here. Okay, I've got a series of questions I want to ask you. This is to judge your saneness. Okay. When ordering a steak, is it rare, medium rare, or well done?
Medium rare. And
if you ordered a potato, is it baked, mashed, or French fries?
Oh, probably depends on the time of the year. Mashed.
Okay. Now, this is to test your geekiness. Are we talking DC or Marvel?
Neither. I don't read comic books.
Oh.
And nor
Okay.
do I watch most of those movies. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, it's all right.
My daughter's
It's all
into
right.
Doctor Who, and I have her educating me
okay.
on what a TARDIS
All
and
right.
a Dalek is. So,
So I guess this next one might really throw you. Star Trek. Is it Captain Kirk or Captain Picard?
Captain Kirk.
Okay, good. All right. You're 12 years old. Name 3 bands you might listen to. When you were 12, what were you listening to?
12, 3 bands. Oh, wow. This is good. 3 bands at 12. So 12 was, I just first of all have to get there. It's 1984. Wow, that's an incredible time. I would probably say, and I'm going to literally look at my collection here so I can tell you.
That's fine.
Actively and honestly. I would definitely say 3 bands at that time. That was like the decade, and that was a time period of huge artists.
Yes, it was.
God, all right, this is going to just totally dork me out.
That's all right.
one would definitely be U2.
All right.
Early U2, obviously back then. Another one, and this is more for the pop mainstream stuff. 1984, you couldn't do better than Huey Lewis and the New Sports, so I'm just going to go take it there.
I love you.
And then finally, I would say probably, I haven't gotten to synth pop yet, so it was still mostly mainstream. I'd say 84. I'll say Prince and the Revolution.
All right.
Purple Rain.
Those
came
are
out,
all
and that was
those are all
the big
acceptable. Anything in the 80s is safe because they didn't curse in the songs. And what's on your playlist today? What's something you would listen to today?
It's pretty varied. It's funny, I ask a lot of people these questions. I never even think about it myself. I'd say playlist today. I really enjoy like kind of going back in time a lot and just reconnecting with things or revisiting things. So I'll just tell you what I bought recently.
Okay.
I bought the Best of the Pretenders.
Oh, good one.
Which is always fun. See, what else do I listen to today? A lot of. It's funny because I'm always trying. I've got a 14-year-old. I've got a 2.5-year-old, and the 2.5-year-old obviously isn't there yet. So with her, it's just kind of like play music in the background. But with the 14-year-old, I'm always trying to educate her on music. So I'm playing a lot of Led Zeppelin.
Oh.
But she's into alternative. So, it's like a lot of times when she's like, oh, this band or that band, I'm like, a lot of what they got came from X, Y, or Z. So lately I've been playing a lot of the Smiths. So really trying to, get her educated. I think that's what every parent has to do with their kids is, infect them with the music bug that we got when we were young, or at least try to teach them, about influences, since we're talking about that. So like watching The Jerk is one of them. One of the other cool things we're going to be doing this weekend is watching The Shining. So I'm really excited.
Oh, that's good.
About that. Yeah. She got me into Doctor Who. I got her into Stanley Kubrick. So, we're not there yet for Clockwork Orange. I don't think I can do that one with her anytime soon.
All right, I have one more question.
Sure.
If you were stuck on a desert island, what one item and one person would you have with you?
One item and one person would I have with me. The one person is easy. That's my wife.
That's a safe answer.
It's a safe. I mean, no, she's my best friend. I would say as for the one. I mean, if you want to change it,
no, that's fine.
If it can't be like my wife or something like that,
I mean, you can have anybody in history, anybody ever, and you know.
Well, if it's one person and I'm stuck on an island, I want Bear Grylls. I want somebody who's into survival and who knows what they're doing, and then I either want a flint or I want a knife.
All right.
Back in my TV days, I used to produce reality TV shows, and the production company that I worked with currently produces Naked and Afraid. And a lot of those guys who work on that show I know very well. So, actually, I love that show.
If they're naked, you'd know them very well.
They're not the naked ones. These are the guys who are back in LA sitting in the production office.
Seems to me like they've got the easy part. Anyway.
Right. I'll take Bear Grylls. If I can't take my wife, I'll take Bear Grylls. Actually, I'll probably take Bear Grylls over my wife because my wife will be waiting for me at home and Bear Grylls will get me there. We both might die if it's just the two of us. But yeah, that would be my answer.
Well, David, I want to thank you for taking time and calling us today. And, you're welcome back anytime if you have something. And if you want, it's probably going to happen too soon before we can do it, but I guess we can put something together. And I'll put links on the webpage to Just a Funny, and we'll promote whatever you got going on. Thank you so much for your time.
PJ, thank you so much. And more importantly, thank you for giving this outlet for people to talk, specifically about improv and other things, but improv is a really incredible art form, and the more people that get to discover it, they usually stick with it and stay with it, and this outlet is really important for something like that. So thank you for all the hard work that you do in putting this together and also getting this done. So I really appreciate being here and would love to do this again.
I appreciate it. You're more than welcome back. And what I see, the system I have here, I need to see, I have the ability to have multiple people on, but it's through one system here, and I need to see how well that would work, and maybe we can have you and a couple of your fellow performers on, and we can play and see what happens with that.
Okay, sure.
All right. You have a great day, and a Happy New Year, and be safe, okay?
Absolutely, you too, and hope to see you at the festival, or if you can come down here to Miami and visit us at Just the Funny, that'd be great too.
I will do that. Thank you very much.
All right, take care.
All right, this has been PJ and Friends, and we want to thank David Christopher for taking time out of his day and hanging out with us. All right, remember, Just the Funny is having their improv festival, and I put my notes down here, January 21st through 25th. Go to justthefunny.com, and I'll put up a link on my Facebook page and on my website for that. Stay tuned. More music and stuff coming up, and I'll have this up soon for you to download and listen to on demand. I want to thank you guys for hanging out today. It is a wonderful day. It's a brand new year, and I hope you guys be safe.
You're listening to PJ and Friends on PJandFriends.com. Orlando, Florida.